Hello everybody, it's Maquito. I hope everybody's having a good day and it's had a good day so far. We're in the robe again. We had another great video when it came to the player props, but as always, I'll go over those at the end of the video. But we have another slate when it comes to international break. I always say it in every video and I'll say it again. I usually recommend playing lighter in these international breaks, even if we're doing good, just because it is hard to predict. Just look at the money line plays. Teams play differently. They play different. They have different coaches. They play different roles. They play with these teammates not as often as they would with their club. So in general, it's just hard to predict. So I usually recommend playing a little lighter. But if I have any added plays, as always, it will be in the pinned comment either later tonight, but more than likely tomorrow when team lineups are confirmed, because a lot of the times teams don't play who they really should be playing, if that makes sense. They rotate their squads. Besides, a big majority of the games tomorrow, both teams in a game have really nothing to play for. Either one team already qualified, one's not qualified, or both teams are not qualified, things like that. So with those, technically anybody could play because there's nothing to play for anymore. So there are plays that I'm looking at, but I want to make sure who's starting where. So I do anticipate having added plays, but again, more than likely they're going to be tomorrow when lineups are confirmed. So if you do want more plays, keep an eye out for that. But other than that, I'll get straight into the plays. And the first play that I found that I like is Nathan Collins to go higher than 47.5 passes away from home for Ireland, going up against Hungary. He did go over in the last game and the most recent one against Portugal, but it is a tough matchup against them. But I expect the possession in this game to be a lot more balanced, like 50-50. If anything, they're playing Hungary, who all they need is a draw in order to at least secure a possible qualification spot. Yeah, they can try to go for the win and hope that Portugal somehow squandered their game against Armenia, but I doubt that happens. So if anything, Hungary, all they need is a draw. So that honestly just means more possession that Ireland can get. And if you look at the odds when it comes to which team is more likely to score, Hungary, according to the odds, are more likely to score. You can get them for around minus 150, 160, while Ireland is around plus 150, plus 160. So if anything, Hungary is more likely to score the first goal, which means they'll give up more possession, play defensively. At the end of the day, all they need is a draw, which also means more possession for Ireland, more passes that Nathan Collins can get. And if you look at the other games that he's played with Ireland in decent matchups or 50-50 matchups, he went over with 62 two times against Armenia. He went under with 24, but that was against Portugal. What's a tough matchup? He went over with 77 against Hungary, but keep in mind they did have a 52-minute red card. They went over in both. He went over in both games against Bulgaria with 74 and 56, and then went over with 51 against Finland. And Hungary is not a possession-based team. When they play, unless they're playing like a super small team, they are more than likely to either give up more possession or play 50-50%, which is what I want. As long as they can get around 50% of the ball, I expect them to go over this line. If you look at opponents against Hungary, they gave Armenia 48%, they gave Turkey 45% and 63%. Bosnia 66%, and Scotland 58%. So more than likely opposing teams that are like evenly matched are more likely to get a little more possession than them. And at 47.5 is a good line. I will take this up to maybe 50.5, 51.5, nothing higher than that. I guarantee you people will still ask, but if you are listening, I wouldn't take this higher than 50.5, 51.5. Ireland don't have much creativity when it comes to the midfield, so they can't control. If anything, they play a lot more long balls and play around the back, and he's going to be one of those people that they're going to look to try to play somewhere. So I like the play and I like the line. Nathan Collins will go higher than 47.5 passes. And the second play that I found that I like is a safer play, a goblin play. Vitinha to go higher than 0.5 shots at home for Portugal, going up against Armenia. I had him as an added play 2 or 3 videos ago. He came through then. I expect him to come through now. He has a good matchup here against Armenia, who is already eliminated, and in the first game against Portugal gave up 24 shots to them. That was away from home. Now they're at home, and in that game in which they took 24 shots, he went over and took 1 shot. In the most recent game against Ireland, he went over with 4 shots. Again, we just need 1. He's averaged 2.15 shots per 90 in the qualifiers, and in domestic play in Ligue 1 in France, he's averaging 2.29 shots. He's a long shot taker. In these qualifiers, 7 of his shots have been from outside the box and 3 from inside the box. And in League 1, it's a similar ratio. If anything, even more of his shots are outside the box than inside the box. But with Portugal, he can play more aggressively than what he does there because they need more help on offense. So that's even better for us. Portugal need to win this game in order to guarantee a World Cup spot, so they need to play aggressive in this game. He's very involved in the build-up play and in the offense in general, and he plays up higher on offense, even with Bruno Fernandes back. If you look at the games that he's played with him so far in these qualifiers, he's won over in 2 of 3 games, over with 2 against Hungary, over with 3 against Ireland, and then he did go under with 0 against Hungary away from home. But now he's at home in a better matchup, and I like the line, so I like Vitinha to go higher than 0.5 shots. Before I get into my money line play, as always, I really appreciate it if everybody liked the video and commented as well. It takes just a second, and it's a great way to support the channel, whether it's just showing your support, putting something random, or asking questions, because I know a lot of y'all that watch these videos don't actually watch soccer, but just make the plays because I'm the one posting them, which I really appreciate. And if you're not subscribed, please subscribe, turn on notifications so you're notified when these videos will go out. And I do also let y'all know in my Discord, which is free, I do not hide any picks. I don't sell a premium in which I hide picks. You get more there. You get all of them for free on YouTube and in the pinned comment. The Discord is just for those that also want to get notified. I notify when I post there, whenever I don't post, if I have added plays, and it's also just a great community where people post their own plays on all sports, not just soccer. So there's no reason not to join. Completely free. The only form of membership that I have, or premium, I guess you could say, is the YouTube membership, which is linked, or there should be a join button next to the subscribe button. It's just if you want to support the channel a little more, and you do get the content out earlier. So if you're not a member, those that are already got the video and all the picks for everybody else. So thank you to all the members as well, and thank you to anybody and everybody who supports me in any way. But I have one money line play that I found that I like. Money line plays, at least for international break, hasn't been doing so well. But I mean, the luck has to turn around at some point. We've been doing great player prop wise. The reads are like right there. We're like right there. But I found this one that I like for -128. And the first play is Ukraine plus 1.5 spread going up against Ukraine. This just means that they could lose, but if they do lose, they won't lose by more than 1. I can see them drawing this game, possibly even winning. It's going to be a close game. Both teams are tied in points, but because Iceland have a superior goal difference, all they need is a draw. Ukraine need to win. And even if Ukraine somehow managed to take the lead and score first in this game, I see them playing defensively and trying to keep the lead instead of trying to go for the second goal. And in the first game, Ukraine did win 3-5 at Iceland, but they scored 5 from 7 shots on target and only 35% possession. I do not expect that to happen again. Ukraine's offense isn't great. 2 of their best offensive players, Dovbyk and Sudakov, are both out injured. They don't really have like a key player in the midfield or an attack that can really get them that offense that they're very likely going to need against this Iceland side, who has been pretty good defensively. They're coming off that 2-0 win away from home against Azerbaijan. They played great offensively, played great defensively. They've managed to score in all 5 games so far, including in both games against France, and still scored 3 in that first game when I mentioned 3-5. I see them fighting hard here. This is going to be a tough one for Ukraine. If they manage to win, I don't see them winning by more than 1 anyway, so I like to play the Iceland plus 1.5 spread going up against Ukraine. And the second play that I found that I like is the Portugal first half 3 money line going up against Armenia. They're coming off that disappointing loss to Ireland 2-0. They also had a red card in their team by Ronaldo. But you get better odds at just taking the first half money line instead of taking the full, like Portugal winning and then by the first half and then them keeping the lead. You actually, at least on Fliff, you get better value just taking the first half. So why not just take that? Portugal have shown to be a very strong side with or without Ronaldo. I mean, the biggest example was back in the World Cup, which was like 3 years ago. But they played that Switzerland side. He was off the bench. Gonzalo Ramos scored 3. He has played well for PSG as well. So it's not like it's yes, it's a big loss, especially on the field, but doesn't mean that they don't have great quality players that can compensate for him. Bruno will be back in this game, which showed in that Ireland game they needed him in that playmaking ability. That's another reason why they lost that game. But he will be back here, and a win here secures the spot. They have a great matchup. Armenia's already eliminated. I mentioned it with the Vitinha pick. They're bad on both sides, offensively, defensively. They have conceded in all 5 games, so they're not great defensively. And then offensively, they have only scored in 1 of 5. So in 4 out of 5 games, they failed to score, including in the first game against Portugal, in which Portugal dominated in in that first game, winning 5-0 and scoring 3 by halftime. They have plenty of strong offensive players regardless. Joao Felix, they have Leao, they have Bruno Fernandes, they have Gonzalo Ramos. I expect Portugal to control possession in this game, and it's the last home game that they will have for a long time, because after this home game, if they win, they go on to the World Cup, which is going to be in Canada, US, Mexico. So I expect them to put on the show. I trust their team to have a good matchup. They can secure the World Cup at home here, so I like to play the Portugal first half 3 and money line going up against Armenia, paired with Iceland plus 1.5 spread for -128. Thank you everybody for watching. I will quickly go over last video's picks. It was a 3-0 player prop day. We did have one DMP, which was Maxime. He didn't start, but I had an added play, which is Oyarzabal to go higher than 2.5 shots. He hit. He ended with 3. We had Neymar higher than 1.5 shots assisted. He eventually got bumped to 2. He had 3 by halftime, so that hit as well. And then we had that one play that I usually don't do, that I have for plus 215. Saboteur to get 2 shots on target. He hit that by halftime. So great player prop day. It was great reads there. We swept that one. So if I'm not mistaken, that's 3 videos in a row now in which we sweep the player props. And then money line wise, I mentioned it was the opposite. We had Austria to score 2 against Cyprus, which did happen, and then we had Denmark to score 3 against Belarus. They surprisingly were losing that game 2-1. Tied the game 2-2 and couldn't get that third for the win. I would not have expected Belarus to score 2, let alone 1. And even having Belarus, or I guess Denmark, to keep a clean sheet was like at -200, -300. So for them to even score 2 was just a big surprise. So that game in general was just a little weird. But they almost had that third goal. They managed to score 2. So we were almost there money line wise, but we swept player prop wise, swept that. 3 videos in a row that we sweep. I believe that's like a 7-0 run now. So hopefully we can keep the momentum going into this next video. Like I mentioned, if I have any added plays, it will be in the pinned comment and the Discord. So keep an eye out for those if you do want more plays. But other than that, I hope everybody has a good night, a good day, and we can cash out tomorrow.